Gauteng travel agent named Premila Shunmugam is accused of defrauding close to 50 South Africans of over 5 million rand and is currently applying for bail in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. She faces 30 criminal cases. Victims include families who lost over 600,000 rand for island getaways and special celebrations like an 80th birthday in Bali. Those proceedings have pretty much kicked off in court. Let's listen in.
I'm therefore obliged to satisfy this Honourable Court that the interests of justice permit my release on bail. I will elaborate hereon in the paragraphs hereunder. Personal circumstances. I was born on 24 June 1969 and am thus 56 years old. My identity number is 69062401828081. I am a South African citizen. I have resided in the Republic of South Africa my entire life. I have been resident at 1402 Pebble Creek Estate, Greenstone Hill, Modderfontein, Johannesburg, Gauteng for approximately the past 10 years, which is my current residence where I stay with my husband and my daughter. The property is a rental property. Prior to this address, I was resident at Highway Gardens for a period of approximately 10 years. I am married to Premila Shunmugam, a South African citizen who has also resided in South Africa his entire life. I have been married to my husband since 1988. My husband was retrenched 3 years ago, which left him unemployed and for the past 3 months financially dependent on me. I have 2 children who have both attained majority. My husband is unable to find employment, being a pensioner, and I am currently the sole breadwinner. Then, Your Worship, without dwelling on the merits of the matter, since same is to a large extent for these proceedings irrelevant, I will briefly deal with the employment history of the accused person, work history. I am the sole director and shareholder of a legal entity, namely Silver Touch Travel and Events Pty Ltd, since 13 June 2015, and which entity is the subject matter of the counts raised herein. At all material times, the aim of Silver Touch's business was event planning, specializing in tailored events and to provide services in the travel industry. I was previously employed by Merck Pharmaceuticals, heading dealing with assets and income. I do not own any movable property or vehicles. I own furniture and household equipment to the value of approximately 200,000 rand. My gross monthly income amounts to approximately 15,000 rand per month, which I use mainly for household expenses. Under the heading, the alleged incidents. At this point in time, I have not been granted access to the police dockets. I am therefore unaware of the evidence available to the National Prosecuting Authority to prove the charges against me. I am aware that the counts against me in this division of the Honourable Court are 3 charges of fraud for the amounts of numerically R145246, R174500 and R09999. I have been advised by my legal representatives, which advice I accept as correct, that as an accused person, I have in terms of Section 55(3) of the Constitution, the right to a fair trial, which inter alia includes the right to be presumed innocent, to remain silent, and not to testify during the proceedings. But due to the special and extraordinary circumstances of the case, I wish to in due course ventilate before the above-mentioned Honourable Court. At this stage of the proceedings, I'm not sure whether the NPA will centralise the criminal cases for hearing in one area of jurisdiction. If it is done, it is anticipated that this might take a substantial period of time to get the necessary authorization to do so. In light of the circumstances of the cases, it is my intention to plead not guilty to the counts which the NPA may formulate against me. I say this because I believe that I have a valid defence that any counts which might be raised against me. Previous convictions. My legal representatives have explained the provisions of Section 60(11)(b)(a) of the Criminal Procedure Act to me. I make the following submissions in this regard.
The provisions of Section 60, subsection
11,
capital B.
capital B(a). Indeed so correct. I'm indebted to the court. Thank you, Your Worship. I make the following submissions in this regard. During 2006, I have been convicted of an offence of fraud for approximately 300,000 rand, and as far as I can recall, was sentenced to a suspended sentence with a fine of 50,000 rand. The loss suffered by the complainant was settled in full. I am aware of the criminal investigations other than the Vierdalbrug matters pending against me at the aforesaid police stations. I have been formally charged against my arrest in some of those charges, and I have not been released on bail pending any criminal charges to be brought against me. Section 64A, read with Section 65 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I undertake not to make contact or communicate with any of the state witnesses, and subsequent to their and request that their identities be disclosed to me to enable me to purposefully not make contact with state witnesses. I have not made any threats or any threats of violence towards any person. I do not harbor any resentment against any specific person, and I have no disposition to violence and have no history of disposition with any of in Schedule 1 of the Criminal Procedure Act. Accordingly, I submit that there is no likelihood that if I am released on bail, that I will endanger the safety of the public or any particular person, or I will commit a Schedule 1 offence. Section 64B, read with Section 66 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I respectfully submit that I have no intention of leaving the Republic of South Africa and are tied to South Africa by family, business, and occupational interests. None of my direct family members have immigrated and are or permanently resident in another country. There is no intention on my part to immigrate. I have not applied for visas and/or work permits to immigrate to another country. I am in possession of a valid passport, but no visas. I am prepared to hand over my passport to the investigating officer if the honourable court requires it to be done. I have dealt in detail with my assets and income above and request that this information is read herein as if specifically recorded herein. I have no intention of fleeing across the borders of the Republic of South Africa or in any way attempting to evade standing trial on the alleged counts. I concede that the counts to be levelled against me is of a serious nature. Notwithstanding this, I have no intention whatsoever to attempt to evade any criminal trial, as previously stated. I am unaware of the contents of the police docket, and I am therefore unable to ascertain the strength of the state's case against me. That having been said, I am prepared to submit myself to any bail conditions which may be imposed by this honourable court. In conclusion, therefore, I respectfully submit that there is no likelihood that I, if released on bail, will attempt to evade my trial. Section 64C, read with Section 67 of the Criminal Procedure Act. As I have advised previously, it has never been my intention, and it remains my intention, not to communicate with state witnesses. I believe that any evidentiary material which the state requires to prove any of the alleged counts to be formulated against me is in the possession of the prosecution and/or the SAPS, and I accept that such evidentiary material is safely guarded. At this point, I'm not aware of the existence of any evidentiary material which I could conceal, and should I become aware of such evidentiary material, I will certainly not conceal or destroy such material. I am not aware who the witnesses for the state are or whether they have made statements and or agreed to testify in the matter. To ensure that I do not communicate with any state witnesses, a list of the state witnesses should be made available to me by the state. I respectfully submit that there is no likelihood that I, if released on bail, will attempt to influence or intimidate state witnesses and or that I will conceal or destroy evidence. Section 64D, read with Section 68 of the Criminal Procedure Act. As previously stated, during 2006, I have been convicted of an offence of fraud. I have not been released on bail pending any charges to be brought against me or formally charged with, and I am not on parole. I did not supply any false information to the investigating officer at the time of my arrest, and I am not supplying any false information at these proceedings. Consequently, I respectfully submit that there is no likelihood that, if released on bail, will undermine or jeopardize the objectives or the proper functioning of the criminal justice system, including the bail system. Section 64E, read with Section 68 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I respectfully submit that should I be released on bail, my release will not induce a sense of shock or outrage and will not disturb the public order or undermine the public peace or security. I further submit that my safety will not be jeopardized by the release on bail. Section 69 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I respectfully submit that the interests of justice do not require my incarceration. This is so inter alia for the following reasons. I understand that the counts to be formulated against me is serious, but the facts of this case differ substantially from a normal fraud scenario. Given the complexity of the nature of the counts to be investigated against me, the possibility of centralization of the counts, I am informed that a prolonged period may lapse before this matter is brought to trial, and I submit that such delay in completion of the investigation is not due to any fault on my part. I submit that as a result of the above, if I am detained, I will further be impeded in the preparation of my defence. Section 6011B of the Criminal Procedure Act. I respectfully submit that based on the facts set out herein, the interest of justice permits my release on bail. There is then further general remarks under the heading General, starting at paragraph 45. With the assistance of my family members, I am in a financial position to pay bail in the amount of 25,000 Rand or in the amount as advised by this Honourable Court for the purposes of securing my release on bail. I am on chronic medication for hormone regulation during menopause. I am also diagnosed with a medical condition of osteoarthritis, which is a medical condition causing pain and stiffness and reduced movement in my spine. I use inflammatory medication to relieve pain symptoms. I have cooperated with the investigating officer when he requested me to report at the Vierdabrug SAPS to hear my side of the story. I have reported to the investigating officer on Monday, 8 December 2025. I have been interrogated by disgruntled complainants in the presence of the investigating officer, who was not satisfied with the outcome and therefore arrested. I have no reason to not stand my trial, and I am confident that I will be acquitted on all the counts should the matter go to trial. I will be severely prejudiced by my incarceration, balanced against the fact that I do not pose a risk to the state should I be released on bail, and that I will stand my trial. Signed originally by the deponent, being the accused person in these proceedings, and also duly commissioned. I beg leave to hand same up to be marked Exhibit A in the bail application.
Mr. Honorable,
These are live pictures we're beaming to you from the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where the woman in the dock is accused of defrauding up to 50 South Africans of more than 5 million rand. Her name is Premila Shunmugam. She is essentially accused of running a fraudulent travel agency, and that's how she apparently made off with this money. Amongst the victims are a family that were trying to celebrate an 80th birthday in Bali. Another family apparently lost up to 600,000 rand for an island getaway. In her bail application, she's essentially said that she's a breadwinner, and it's not in the interest of justice that she be incarcerated because she's confident that she will be acquitted. She's promised to stay in the country and is prepared to hand over her passport and won't contact any witnesses. Important to also state for you that she says she hasn't caught sight of the docket, so she doesn't even know the evidence that has been mounted against her. She does admit, though, that she was convicted of fraud amounting to about 300,000 rand back in 2006, but says the issues then are very different to what she's dealing with now. We'll, of course, keep a close eye to get you a sense of what the outcome of that bail application is, but this is incredibly important because we are in the festive season, and in many instances, people will use their year's savings to try and organize some kind of getaway through a travel agent here and there, and sadly, it seems some people fall into the hands of preying dodgy dealers, for lack of a better term, even though at this stage, in this case, it's all still an allegation.